Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Canal Days. As always, I'm your host, Carrie, along with my co-host, founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Comu. Our Canal Days series delves into a vast collection of historical sites throughout Massachusetts, with Robert's expertise of the local history as our personal guide. Each episode, we uncover history throughout local communities with historic houses, meaningful monuments, preeminent pivotal pioneers, and remarkable remaining remnants, all while uncovering their seminal significance. Today's episode of Canal Days will be canvassing the St. Peter and St. Paul Russian Orthodox Church of Springfield, Massachusetts. And we will be expanding our knowledge base on where it's located, the style of the church, the history, and what it means to be a Russian Orthodox church. So, Robert, can you disclose where the St. Peter and St. Paul Russian Orthodox Church is located?
On Carew Street in Springfield, very close to the Bay State Hospital. And it's been there for a while, and so people have gotten used to its look. So the history of it was that it came in later. If you look at the date, you have to think, oh, these were Russian immigrants from between World War I and World War II who needed a church for themselves. And you got to remember, and we'll talk about this. This is a Catholic church, so they try to keep with that faith. And it's rather small, so there weren't many of them, and so they tried to hang on to it as much as possible, and they did. They held on to it even past the year 2000, but now it's changed hands.
And describe the style of the church's exterior.
So those Russian immigrants remembered what they had back in Russia. The church itself might be technically a Romanesque style church, but look at those golden domes on the top. Those Russian Orthodox domes with that specialized three horizontal piece crosses, and definitely a sign of Russian and Orthodoxy. And I'm glad they kept that beautiful style up there. One of the domes is bigger than the other, and then there's two side ones that are pretty big themselves. But it really makes the whole structure stand out as being a certain type of church. And of course, they have a cornerstone. They're fixing up the doors, front doors, as when I was there. And they do have some fenestration, but it's very, very simple. So it's what you might be. And then, if you look at it, the very front has a checkered brick look. Now, it might be such that it was made by the architect who did a lot of the Catholic churches, but it's a 1940 church, so I don't know if he was still around. But John Donahue, who was that architect, if he was, or might have been the architect for this one, or they might have just modeled it, so it has a nice checkered look to it.
And stick around and we'll be right back after this quick announcement. Are you fascinated by local history and eager to investigate the obscure treasures off the beaten path throughout the state of Massachusetts? Or maybe just seeking an unforgettable cultural activity for family and friends to enjoy? Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Comu. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, charming churches, or more, Robert's tours provide a unique and enriching experience for all. And that's not it. You can also schedule private tours tailored to your interests, ensuring a personalized adventure and unforgettable memories. Perfect for families or groups of all sizes, making for an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit holyokecanaltour.org or email bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com to book your private tour today. But wait, there's more. Don't miss out on Robert's podcast and video series, Canal Days, where you can dive even deeper into the vital history of the Connecticut River Valley. Plus, for those who may not be local or would rather enjoy on the go, or from the comfort of their home, Canal Days brings the adventure right to your screen. So don't miss out. Uncover the pivotal past with historical tours of Greater Holyoke to make your own history with memories that will last a lifetime. Remember to log on to holyokecanaltour.org for more information and secure your personalized experience today. Welcome back to our Canal Days episode of the St. Peter and St. Paul Russian Orthodox Church of Springfield, Massachusetts. And can you narrate first the history of the church?
All right, they finished off in 1940, and I've already told you that might be connected to the between-war immigrants from Russia. And it still exists, so even 85 years later, the church and the congregation still exist as a Russian Orthodox church. That's great. The size of the church is small, but I bet the level of the congregation is still 100, 200 people, and so they're able to survive, which is wonderful. In most churches, like I mentioned, once they pass the year 2000, whether they're Protestant or Catholic, they're having lots of trouble keeping the church going. But this church keeps going on, and they're putting some money recently into fixing up the front and the front doors and the steps. So that's a wonderful sign to know. And, well, what is the church?
Yes, can you explain what a Russian Orthodox church is?
All right, it's the Catholic variety of the Eastern European countries. Their way of religion has survived and is still part of the Catholic Church. And when it's not, they call it like a Polish national or Russian national. But when it's Orthodoxy, it's part of the church itself. And they do have some independence, but they're still under the Catholic wing. And that's unusual because after about 1920, they started to prosecute uh, religious people in Russia as they officially went to atheism, and especially the Orthodox Church. So these are probably members that escaped from those purges in Russia. They're trying to eliminate religion, and probably that's why they're very avid about it, because they know what it means to them, and it's one of the few ties they have back to the culture of their mother country, and it's one way of keeping their not only religion but their language going, their culture, their family traditions going. So even though probably a lot of people live far away, they probably come in on Sundays to have some kind of mass and celebration for themselves.
And thank you for listening and tuning in to our Canal Days episode of the St. Peter and St. Paul Russian Orthodox Church of Springfield, Massachusetts, and joining us on our journey through the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden and overlooked marvels and their fascinating stories that shaped our past in the state of Massachusetts. A special thanks to Robert Comu, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore the Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to keep exploring and discovering the history that is hidden in plain sight all around us. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune in to our next episode of Canal Days and log on to holyokecanaltour.org. Until next time.